Well, it's a classic case of government proposes, airline disposes. The airfares from Srinagar remain exorbitantly high even after Aviation Ministry requested airlines to control airfares post Pahalgam attacks yesterday. Tourists are having to shell out a hefty amount of money to fly back to their hometowns as flight tickets have exorbitantly risen, apparently because of heavy demand. Now, how much can be controlled? We will discuss less this and lot more with Mitali Nikore, founder and economist, Nikore Associate. Good evening to you, Mitali. First of all, this kind of thing we see very often in situations, but why isn't being able to be controlled? Who is at fault here?
No, absolutely. I mean, first of all, a huge condolence from my side to the families of the Pahalgam attack. I mean, what they are going through, we as citizens across the country are seeing it, and it's very terrifying for everyone, to witness this incident and to witness this terrorist attack. But in such a situation, the kind of panic that would be going through the remaining tourists who are there in the region and wanting to come back pretty much the same day or the next day back to the safety of their families, back to their safety of their homes, that takes precedence over everything else. So in such a situation, tourists would not even be looking at, in some cases, the price and, would want to come back. But then, there's also a price constraint, right? If the ticket is going up to 55,000 or 60,000, as is being seen for a one-way flight between Srinagar to Mumbai, then it becomes very difficult for people to even escape and to move and to come back. So in such a situation, I think the airlines themselves have to think about whether they can implement what we call a price ceiling and say, we're not going to allow the fares to go beyond this point. We're going to take a call and we are going to say, let's fix the price and we won't allow it to go beyond a point.
So, Mitali, you mean to say that profitability should be kept aside, and in such moments, airlines should come to nation's service and try to bring tourists out of such situations, because in this particular case, the highway is also closed.
Absolutely. I mean, airlines and airways are pretty much the only option that tourists have in this situation. This is an unprecedented situation. It's a security threat that the country faces. And in such situations, it should be the voluntary action of the airlines. In fact, the ministry should not even have to ask them. The Airports Authority of India, which is the regulator of the airlines, should not even have to ask them. The airlines themselves should come together under the aegis of the AAI, which is the Airports Authority of India, and say, we will not allow a one-way fare to cross, say, 25,000 rupees or 30,000 rupees, and come up with that number by consensus between themselves. I mean, we don't have that many routes or that many airlines that are flying. Also, airlines can also, if they don't increase the, or cap the fares, they can always increase the number of flights and say that, when there is a demand in this case and when there is a national duty that they may have to do in such a situation, they can increase the frequency of the flights and increase, have maybe 10 flights or 15 flights coming in to take people out of that situation in a day. And people would be willing to pay for that. So, at the end of the day, the airlines themselves have to have some responsibility in this case.
Mitali, one last question before I let you go. Airlines are saying that what the fares are being surged are indirect or maybe after many destinations. That's why they are very high, or they are on aggregators' website. If you go to our own website, like Air India said, there won't be this kind of surge.
No, I mean, definitely people can try, different ways of booking an airline. I think all of us know that, typically we all have, certain ways of booking an airline. We can go on the direct website of Air India. We can go on the direct website of Indigo. But even when today somebody is going on these websites, sometimes you find that the fares are completely, extremely high and completely out of reach for many of the middle class tourists. Many middle class tourists book several months in advance when they go for a vacation to Kashmir. A vacation to Kashmir is not cheap, and it is mostly domestic tourists who are and at the end of the day, they may have booked it 6 months in advance or 8 months in advance when fares are low. But now, when they have to purchase a ticket in such an emergency scenario, that also on the very next day, the Mumbai flight is going for almost 40, 50,000 one way. So, in such a situation, airlines do have a responsibility, and capping fares or increasing the frequency of flights is are the only two solutions that we can have.
Well, thank you, Mitali, for joining us and discussing all this with us today evening.